This is the Big Deal Podcast, brought to you and powered by New Covenant Baptist Church in Albertville, Alabama. And on this podcast, we're asking the question, what's the big deal about all things related to Bible, theology, and culture? I'm Justin.
I'm Brad.
Welcome to the Big Deal. All right, Brad, how you doing?
I've been better.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, buddy.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Tell all the happy people at home.
Moved my son to college.
Man, it's the end of an era.
I was not prepared.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be okay.
Yeah.
I tried to kidnap him last night, drove all the way down there. I did
really?
not, no.
Say, when did you do that? I was at your house last night.
I thought about just kidnapping one of the students. Just like, the house is empty. Get him in there.
Yeah, surrogate child.
Yeah.
Man, that's hard stuff. Ethan's a good boy.
He is.
If you're listening to this, Ethan, that's a shout out to you.
Yeah.
We like you a lot.
Oh, I wouldn't go get him. It's the right thing. He's having a ball down there.
Yeah.
He's living his best life.
Playing D&D and
Getting ready to go to class. He's free.
it is such a fun time. Going to college, it's wildly fun.
Yeah.
And like just being on your own,
Being on your own is amazing. You're like, what do I do? Nobody tell me what to do. I'm going to eat cereal every day. Every meal.
Pop-Tarts for supper.
I'm going to have so much Cinnamon Toast Crunch. No one can stop me.
Yeah. It's like the freedom of it, and there's something interesting about the responsibility of it too. You know,
Yeah.
Like, I'm finally responsible, and it's like scary, but also like I like it, man.
Yeah.
I'm in on it. You know.
Then you get married and have kids, and there you go.
And then you're drowning in responsibility the rest of your life.
So
Yeah. All right, I got a question for you to kick us off today. All right, if you could relive one day of your life.
Oh no.
Like not full, Groundhog Day style, but just like you get to do that one day again. Which day would you choose?
I can't do it. I'm not going back.
Like in the positive sense. Like what was the good day that you would like? I would
screw it up.
Yeah.
I just don't think it'd be as fun. You can't. It's too much. It's like in Groundhog Day though, when he keeps going back and he has that one good day, and then he tries to keep replicating with her, and it's like fake, and he can't make it work.
You have to though. The question is, you have to choose one day.
3 days old.
So would you?
I'm going back to 3
days
days old. I can't screw that up.
That's
I got
so funny.
Nothing. Yeah, I tell my son this. He's like, if you were my, I can't say this on the radio.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, he says, if you're my age, if you woke up tomorrow and you're 18 again, what would you do? And I say, die. Immediately die. Yeah, I would
What
die.
do you actually say when he says
I say
that?
I would kill myself immediately if I woke up and I was 18. It was like, why? I'm like, I can't do it. I didn't meet your mom until I'm 27. I got to wait 9 years for her.
Oh, man.
I can't date anybody in between. All that stuff I went through would be weird. I don't even know when you guys were like conceived exactly. Like you go back to 18, if we're in the same multiverse or whatever, I'm like, no,
not doing it.
Because none of the stuff I have now exists.
Yeah.
It just can't.
Yeah.
I can't remember all that stuff. So he's like, what would you do if you were me? And you woke up tomorrow and you was 18. I'm like, oh, no, we can't do that.
This is a bad day.
We don't go back there.
Yeah.
We don't. No.
It's like Mufasa,
yeah,
looking
there's
at
a dark realm over there,
Yeah.
son. Don't go there.
Can't go back in time.
No, don't go. Now, there's some embarrassing things I would like to fix.
Yeah.
But
That's how I would do it.
you get in and out.
If I'm reliving the day, I'm going to probably choose a day of like really bad decisions on my part. Like I'm probably not going to choose the good day to relive. I'm going to go with the day where I messed things up, and I'm going to do it better.
Thing where sometimes you're sitting around and you kind of go,
Yeah,
what's wrong? It's like, I remember something stupid I did when I was 21, and it just hit me, and I need to find somebody and apologize.
Yeah. That's what I would go back and fix.
Oh man,
yeah.
I can remember so many dumb things, but like, don't fix the good things that were good.
Yeah. You can't, like they say, like scientifically now.
Scientifically.
They say it is impossible to go back in time.
Yeah.
Sometimes people play with it in sci-fi and stuff, but the verdict right now is it is actually impossible to go backwards in time.
Yeah.
But it is possible to go forwards in time.
I don't want to do that.
You know how?
How?
You go out into space.
I'm doing it every day, 1 second at a time.
But you go really fast.
Yeah, go really fast.
And it's the theory of relativity.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
when you come back, you will have aged less than the people that you left because
Right.
of your speed.
That we know that's actually true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you can go forward in time. You can skip things if you can go fast enough.
Don't want to do that.
But still, in a lot of ways, theoretical because we can't actually go that fast.
We can't go that fast.
Yeah.
We can go fast enough to do nanoseconds.
Yeah, yeah. But not enough to like skip like
100 years or something.
Yeah, my college years or something.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. So we're in Genesis still. We're tracking through the narrative of the Bible, right? And we've talked about all sorts of things. Last week was super fun with the flood and the Nephilim and all that. And after the flood, we really have like what I think of as the ancient stories, the very old stories. Like we have one more of those. And it's the Tower of Babel. We're going to talk about that some today, the Tower of Babel or Babylon. But before we do that, we need to talk about something that happened right when Noah's family got off the boat, right? And it's kind of weird.
Super weird.
It's super weird, actually. And so let's read it. I just want to put this in our brains to get us going.
Read the Bible.
I'm going to read the Bible to you. So this is Genesis chapter 9, verse 18. This is the weird thing. It is one of the weirdest things in all of Scripture, actually.
Really?
I think so.
I don't know, man. Some weird stuff in there.
This is weird.
You mean, yeah. Maybe,
like-
maybe what you mean by weird.
I mean, like creepy.
Creepy.
Like
Yeah.
what is happening?
The only
there?
thing that pops to mind
Like,
is in
yuck.
Judges when that Levite goes to the house and he has his concubine, and
Oh man,
that's a horrible story. I'm not even going to talk about it in front of our listeners.
it's like that to me is more wicked.
Yeah, but it's still weird. He's
Yeah,
like,
it is
here's the
weird.
idea. I'll
Yeah.
chop her into pieces and send
Yeah.
her all over Israel. It's like, what?
Yeah, I know what
How
you
did
mean.
this pop in your brain?
These are bad people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
so this is the story. It's in Genesis chapter 9. People forget about this one when they think about the flood story. Noah's sons who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. Probably recognize that name.
Yeah.
These three were Noah's sons, and from them the whole earth was populated. Noah, as a man of the soil, began by planting a vineyard. He drank some of the wine, became drunk, and uncovered himself inside his tent.
Yeah.
Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a cloak and placed it over both their shoulders, and walking backward, they covered their father's nakedness. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father naked. When Noah woke from his drinking and learned what his youngest son had done to him, he said, Canaan is cursed. He will be the lowest of slaves to his brothers. He also said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. Let Canaan be Shem's slave. Let God extend Japheth. Let Japheth dwell in the tents of Shem. Let Canaan be Shem's slave. Now Noah lived 350 years after the flood, right? That's weird.
Yeah.
What in the world is going on there, man?
Well, so let's talk about the flood, right?
Yeah.
Well, God hit the reset button on the world, narratively speaking. And so now then, we've got Noah, and he takes some fruit, and he gets drunk off of it, and he curses his kid, and he gets naked.
Yeah,
Does that sound familiar?
it does.
So Adam and Eve are in the garden. Their sin is they take fruit, but we know it wasn't grapes
Yeah,
because grapes don't grow on trees.
they're on a vine.
There you go, going vine. So clearly it was apple cider. He takes the fruit. They eat the fruit. They see they're naked, and a curse happens.
Yeah,
Noah gets off the boat, eats the fruit. Well, drinks from the fruit of the vine. It's parallel. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's like eerily repetitive. He gets drunk, gets naked. His kids see his nakedness, and there's some weirdness about the nakedness. Like exposing his nakedness can mean like a molesting kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we don't know that.
yeah, we don't know.
So we don't know exactly what Ham did.
Yeah.
Maybe he just giggled at his daddy and he was like, look at daddy sitting there naked.
Yeah.
And his sons walk backwards and cover him. They don't look at him naked because they were like, man, Daddy gonna wake up mad, and he did. And so then, and here's the other weird thing. So who did it? Ham. And he looks at Ham and he goes, "Cursed be Canaan."
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute.
And in the narrative, it's like, it's over and over. Ham was the father of Canaan.
Yeah.
Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked. So it's like he's
Why is Canaan getting cursed?
drawing a lot of attention to Canaan.
Yeah.
over that.
Why did Canaan? So I see, narratively speaking, there's the flood didn't work in the sense that it eliminated wickedness and no need for a curse. So we have kind of a second fall. We have a new curse, and it's on Canaan.
Well, and when you say the flood didn't work, like, you don't mean
It killed
that-
everybody.
Yeah, you don't mean, though, that God's plan failed.
No, I mean, it didn't. God flooded the world because he saw the wickedness of the world, and he was like, oh, man, this place is awful. And he floods it, and the first thing that happens is wickedness again.
Yeah.
So, and the judgment did not take away wickedness.
That's
it's going to
right.
take something else.
Yep. Discipline did not make
In
them
other
righteous.
words, he can't kill all the bad people because all the people are bad.
Yep.
Right? So you might think, well, if God just got rid of all the bad people, the good people would multiply and the world would be great. But we see here, God picked out his very favorite one, Noah, found grace in the eyes of God.
He's a righteous man.
Righteous man, and then this happens.
Yep. Like, righteous men are still sinners.
Yeah.
That's like what you learn.
Yeah, so I guess when I say it didn't work, the solution to sin is not just kill the bad people.
Yeah.
Because they're all bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at least the solution that God's aiming for, which is redemption.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, something weird happens. Sometimes you might hear people talk about this. This is another area where the speculation that people have about the Bible can become a, like, solid doctrine teaching thing, which is annoying.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it doesn't tell you explicitly what happened, but they will say stuff like, it was molestation or something, like, it was some sort of like sexual abuse thing. And they'll just kind of say that like it's obvious.
Yeah.
We really don't know what it is.
No.
All we know is it's nakedness. And it's like a reversal of what was happening in Genesis 3. Like, it was shameful all of a sudden that they were naked.
Yes.
And here you have Noah being shameful.
Yeah.
And especially in the sight of his sons,
Yeah. And Hashem, whose name means name, is the one that winds up being blessed. That's going to be important for the narrative.
And Canaan is the one who ends up being cursed.
Yes.
So Canaan, of course, like that, the reason you might be familiar is the name of the promised land.
Yeah.
Right?
His people settle in Eden.
Yeah.
What we would say, what the original parameters of Eden were kind of actually smaller. Area.
Yeah, it's the part of Eden.
Yeah.
Right, but not the garden area.
Yeah.
Originally.
All of this might be taking place in Eden. The whole thing might be talking about
that
Eden.
is. It probably is. The whole, and so this is like kind of setting up the characterization of like who is God, who is going to what's the right word? Who's going to receive the promise of the offspring?
Yes.
Right.
Who's going to be the one? So it wasn't, Eve was promised, Adam was promised a seed to crush the head of Satan, and it wasn't Cain, and it wasn't Abel, and it wasn't Seth. And so now it's not Noah, and it's maybe going to be Shem. Maybe it'll be Shem.
Yeah, in the way the Bible talks about it is with blessing.
Yes.
Like, the one who's blessed is the route that the Messiah is coming down.
Yes.
The offspring, the seed.
That's
right?
what we're looking for,
Yeah.
the seed. It's translated offspring here, but it's seed.
And so Noah, right when he got off the ark, he's blessed. God blessed him and said, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, right? Just like he did Adam. And then now Noah is blessing Shem.
Yeah.
And so it's going to go through Shem.
Yeah.
Right. And so what are you expecting to see right after that? Well, you're expecting to see who are Shem's sons. Maybe it'll be Shem's son.
Yeah.
Shem. It might be Shem or Shem's sons that are that is this Messiah who will come and crush the head of the serpent, right? Foretold in Genesis 3. And so you know what we get right after that? You get genealogies, Table of Nations, right, is what it's called in chapter 10. And this kind of describes all of the different peoples that come from the family of Noah. And it's pretty, there's a couple highlights you could mention on here, right? Like, what are some of the highlights do you see? People. Nimrod's a big one. Yeah,
He was a mighty man.
Isn't that's kind of like a thing that we call like dumb people?
A dumb person.
Isn't that?
But he was not a dumb
I
person.
know. Where'd that come from?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He did foolish stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
But like Nimrod, you wouldn't have called him a dummy to his face.
Yeah, he made Babylon.
I know.
He's in charge of
He's the
the
first
next
guy
chapter,
to
the
like
Tower
start,
of Babel.
Yeah, he's like the first guy to start kingdoms, and is a mighty man. It says mighty hunter before the Lord.
Yep. Yeah.
Mighty one on the earth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so
the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Erech and Akkad and Calneh in the land of Shinar.
Yep.
So like one of the very, if not the very first, like empire.
He is,
builder.
yeah. And when you get to chapter 11, which is this story of the Tower of Babel, it's like it's a zeroing in, a focusing in on what actually Nimrod was doing with Babel. Right?
And that's descendants of Canaan should sound familiar.
They do,
The
yeah, verse
Jebusites
15.
and the Amuzites and the Girgashites and the Hivites and the Arkites. When Israel comes in the promised land, are still there. David is still dealing with
He's
Jebusites in Jerusalem.
Yeah. In the same from Canaan, there's Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboims.
Yeah.
Man, these are classically, these are the enemies of God. The people who are enemies now, and there's a sense in which we're all enemies of God, but these are the people who are constantly contending with God's people.
Yeah, with Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They turn into these like nations, super pagan, evil pagan.
Evil.
Yeah. And so it's being set up early. This is like way before Abraham.
Way before.
Like hundreds of years before Abraham.
Yeah.
And at least. Mm-hmm. But it could be way more. And so it's just setting up the characters, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? In the nations that they're going to be dealing with when they come into the promised land.
These people are living in the land.
The land.
They're living in the land.
The Aretz.
They're living in Aretz.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what it's doing, here's narratively what it's doing, I think, is that it's setting up the second flood. Right? And the second, and what I mean by that is that it's setting up what's going to happen when Israel comes into the promised land all as a nation.
Yeah.
And why are they told to wipe these people out?
Yes. It's another flood.
It is.
Except it's a human one in the land.
And
a judgment. If you misbehave in Eden,
yeah,
you're going to get it.
Eden in Genesis, in the Pentateuch, Eden is a place, man, the promised land. This is a place where God's reign is supposed to be evident and on display. There's supposed to be a temple here. And when people are messing that up, they're not going to stay there for long, right? And they're going to get kicked out, even if it's Israel. Even if it's God's
Israel.
people.
Doesn't
right?
matter who it is.
And so
you're not putting up with it.
That's the reason you have all these names. And, if you're reading like a yearly Bible plan or something, and you get to chapter 10 in Genesis, you're like, what is the point of all these names? This is so frustrating for me to read. Am I supposed to remember these things?
No.
Remember that narratively.
Narratively.
Is that the word?
I don't know. It is. You've heard it here first, dear
Narratively.
listener. Narratively.
Yeah. It's there for a reason.
Yeah.
It's actually giving you this glimpse into, it's foreshadowing of what's going to be happening later. The characters that you're going to be dealing with later. And I don't mean characters like characters in like Lord of the Rings, like they're not real.
Yeah.
I mean, like these are just the setup
These
for
are
the people that
ones.
they deal with later on. So you read through all these names and these genealogies.
They show up again. A lot of them.
And they do, yeah. After chapter 11, right? And then you get to chapter 11. This is one of those. This is another kind of wild story. This is like one of the last of the like the ancient, just story. I don't know. They just feel so ancient to me.
Yeah.
That's how I think of them. That's not labeled as such. Abraham is ancient too, this just feels super ancient, you know.
Yeah.
Tower of Babel. And it's kind of iconic.
Yeah, it is.
You know, this is a theme that weirdly reaches into literature a bunch. And the Tower of Babel into like story.
Every single one of these stories do.
Yeah.
The flood, the fall.
They do. They reach
Every
into
single.
literature.
It is in the collective conscience of the whole West.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no doubt.
In the Middle East.
I remember. Oh yeah, I remember playing a game, like a video game, not early to it was 90s. It was a 90s game, and it was like a Japanese made game, and it had the Tower of Babel in it.
Look at that.
That's wild.
All
What was
the way in
that?
Japan.
What was that game?
Final Fantasy 3.
I don't think it was.
I made that up. I have no idea.
Was. I think actually one of the Final Fantasies did have this.
What?
In it.
What a guess.
But no, what was that? I can't remember what it was called. Yeah, it's like it just kind of like just seeps into the culture, and so it's pretty iconic. You've probably heard of the story of the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, what happened?
So let's read the Bible.
Tell me.
Yeah, all right. So chapter 11, the whole earth,
Whole earth?
the whole land. Oh, yeah, it's actually land.
All right.
Okay? The whole land had the same language and vocabulary as people migrated from the east. Right?
They journeyed east.
They journeyed east. So what's happening?
That's going the wrong way, buddy.
They were east of Eden. They're pushed out
They're going further.
that side. Now they're coming back in to the land. Right?
No, they're going away.
from the east.
No, they journey
Oh, yeah.
east.
They're getting kicked out. Right? Yeah,
they're
that's
going
what I
our
meant.
way.
Yeah. So they're getting
Scratch
kicked,
that, reverse it.
Yeah. I'm about to set up the point. I just had that backwards in my head. Yeah, they're coming from the east, going west. They found a valley in the land of Shinar and settled there. You know where the land of Shinar is?
Yeah. Babylon.
It's Babylon.
Ur of the Chaldeans.
And it's the Mesopotamia.
It is.
The garden.
It's the Garden of Eden.
Yep.
East side.
If you look at like a map, you can Google this, land of Shinar, and you're gonna see it's like this river basin valley it's made of the Euphrates.
These things
the
they
Tigris,
built
yeah.
are still sitting there.
Oh, the towers,
ziggurats.
the ziggurats.
Yeah.
What a wild name!
Yeah.
I love that name.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to put a picture of it.
Well,
on
in
our,
the old days, it was a lot of fun and so much work. You think of it, they're like, we're going to stack stones, man.
yeah, they look like pyramids.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not exactly a pyramid, but they look like it.
But we love to do that.
Yeah.
They did it down in Cozumel in Mexico.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
We love to stack up rocks high.
Well, if you're if all you got's rock and mortar,
Yeah.
it's the most stable structure you can build.
It's like kids building sandcastles.
Yeah.
Except let's do it big. Let's build it big.
Yeah.
And I like it here. It says that they come let us bake bricks and burn them thoroughly. And come let us build for ourselves a city whose tower will reach into heaven.
Yeah,
It says sky.
in the sky. It's going to go into the sky.
People, I remember growing up and said they tried to build up into heaven.
So CSB, good job CSB. It says sky
Oh.
with its top in the sky.
Yeah, they were tired of people
Yeah.
saying that they were trying to get in. They just meant let's make it real tall.
It's going to be big.
They wanted to build a
tall.
skyscraper. Yeah.
And I don't know that I think that there might be an element of spiritual heaven in that. Like, we're going to go up, if we make a name for ourselves, we're going to go up to God's place, God's space. Like, I wouldn't be surprised by that. Just how pride works, because this is a story about hubris, about pride, So it wouldn't surprise me if that was part of it, but it would be probably the earliest reference from sky to as heaven as where the place God lives,
Yeah,
right?
I think they just said let's make a tall one
Yeah.
because they're trying to make themselves like a beacon.
Yeah.
So they can always like a orientation.
Well, what do you think about this? So the purpose of a ziggurat.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so that's kind of funny because you look at Ur. This is where Abraham's from. Ur is in
Iraq.
It's in Iraq. It's a city that they've archaeologically dug up and all this.
Yeah.
And you got a ziggurat there. You have the remains of this tower there.
it's just crazy how much work those things must have taken.
Oh my goodness.
Like, man alive.
Yeah. And you also have the Ugaritic area and stuff,
Yeah.
That's another thing you can Google sometime. Ugar. Yeah, Ugarit. It's Ugarit, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah. So anyways, they kind of find out in the literature they find in those places on rocks and junk, that the purpose of the ziggurat is they would build them to invite the deity to come live there, right? It would be to show off and to invite the God, little g God.
Well, he does. He shows up.
And he shows up.
He does. He don't like it.
That's what's kind of funny about it. So they're building these things to make a house for the God, so they can have some power.
Well, here they say we don't want to be scattered abroad over the face of the whole land. So it's like a point on the map. Mm-hmm. So they're orientated toward this thing, and it happens with the temple of God. Mm-hmm. Really, they turn toward the temple and pray when Solomon talks about it.
Yeah.
It orients them where they are. They're always remembering where the land was. So this is like a proto temple in that regard.
Yeah, that's right.
But they're directly disobeying.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't want to leave. And God's like, be fruitful, multiply, fill the land. Go out. And they're like, no, we want to stay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what God tells people
and why do they want to stay?
I don't know.
They just what it says. We want a name for ourselves.
Oh, a name, yeah.
Yeah. And we don't want to be scattered.
They want a Shem.
They want a Shem.
They said, well, let's make a name. Let's make a Shem for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and then God comes down. Check it out.
All right. Yeah. Lord came down to look over the city and the tower that the humans were building. It's like a building inspector, like a home inspector or something. That's how it looks.
Yeah, it's an important use of the word Yahweh too.
It is, yeah,
because that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Yahweh.
So here's a good point.
And there's like that JEDP with Julius Wellhausen. And we don't see any of the Yahweh stuff until after Abraham. It's like, wait a minute, buddy. Here it is, right here.
Yeah. So if you don't know what we're talking about there, in verse 5, you have then
I said
the
something
Lord
real smart.
Came down. That was super smart and funny. If you know about
There's
it.
There's one person listening that goes, hey, he took a shot at Wellhausen.
In your English Bible, when you see the Lord, and the Lord is all capitalized, in most translations, the Greek behind, the Hebrew behind
My
it
goodness, watch your mouth.
That was awful. The Hebrew behind it is Yahweh.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
We don't have any vowels. It's better to say the tetragrammaton.
Yeah, the Yahava.
Yeah, there's no vowels, so it's Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey.
Yeah.
And that's the name of God.
Yeah.
But there's no vowels, and it's on purpose.
You know how they get the vowels for the Yahweh?
Yeah.
Tell us that.
So,
it's so funny.
In between, ancient Hebrew has no vowels.
Yeah.
And so it's just consonants. And they did not want you to say Yahweh.
No.
Like the priests don't say Yahweh. Because you might take his name in vain if you say his name.
And that's why it's not transliterated Yahweh.
We still keep that
Lord.
tradition. Yeah. If there's a Jewish person listening, I was like, we can say it. We're Christians.
Yeah.
So anyway, they vowel pointed it to make sure nobody said Yahweh as Adonai, which means Lord, like my Lord or whatever, not like
master.
Yahweh.
Yeah.
And so it's way too many vowel points. Hebrew is consonant vowel, consonant vowel, consonant vowel, always like that.
Yeah.
But they get to Yahweh, and there's like these vowels everywhere. And what are we going to do? We're going to make it Jehovah.
Yeah. Well, that's what they do way later.
Yeah, well, that's what the English people did.
That's the German people did.
The Germans.
The Germans.
And then
Jehovah.
we get a whole cult. Take that, Jehovah's Witnesses, saying the name of God is actually Jehovah. And it's like 100% it's not.
That's the German translation
of Yahweh not knowing what to do with all the vowels.
Yeah. And
they didn't even say J's back then.
So I have two funny things about this.
I want to hear two. I wish you had three.
So there's I lead worship and stuff. I've been doing church music for a long time. There are two songs that crack me up.
Tell me what they are.
The first one is Behold He Comes Riding on the Clouds. You know that one?
Yeah.
What's the name of the song?
Days of Elijah.
Days of Elijah.
I actually like that song. Don't ruin it for me.
The bridge says, there's no God like Jehovah. There's no God like Jehovah.
We skipped the bridge.
Yeah, isn't that so funny? Because I had a seminary professor that would say, "There's no God named Jehovah. There's no God named Jehovah."
But it's okay because you just can say that.
It's just funny. Yeah. Another one is another popular worship song from about 10 years ago by Phil Wickham is called Yahweh. And the chorus of this song is Yahweh, Yahweh, we love to shout your name, O Lord. And I think that is so funny if for the Jewish listeners.
Yeah.
Like, let's blaspheme in the song.
Somebody
Yahweh,
they're pulling their hair out.
We love to shout your name.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, don't shout.
But they used to, because
Yeah.
David wrote Yahweh.
Yeah,
And-
obviously.
Yeah.
They
They built that hedge around the law.
They
Because the
did.
Bible says, don't take the name of the Lord in vain, which
Yeah.
doesn't mean don't say God. It actually means don't make vowels.
Yeah.
Vowels, not vowels. Don't make vows in God's name
Yeah.
and not keep them.
That's
is
right.
what mean. But they're like, hey, if we don't teach people what God's actual name is, they won't be able to take his name in vain.
Yeah.
So it's always say Adonai. And so there's something in the Hebrew. God, I'm going to teach people for free what I had to pay for. In the Hebrew Bible, there's something called the Kethiv Kareh. You know this? Kethiv, as it is written, Kareh, as it is read. And so you don't read it the same way it's written. So that you won't
Yeah.
screw up.
Yeah.
So and there's like markers.
Yeah.
Like you'll get to it and it'll say, when you get to Yahweh, it's like, don't say that.
Yeah.
They say Adonai. So instead of saying Yahweh, every time they get to it, they say Adonai. And we follow that tradition for no reason.
Yeah.
I guess for our Jewish folk. I don't
Hebrew's
know.
wild. Hebrew's weird. There's like a part of that is like all the accent markings on
Yeah.
Hebrew. It's like there's a way to say this. Like raise your voice here, lower your voice here.
Yeah.
Stuff. You know,
Yeah.
that's wild. Like
I
that's
know.
part of the language. Well, that's part of the later language. As
The
it
Masoretes
comes-
added
yeah.
that in like 500.
So,
AD.
anyways, the point is, what is the point? This is the Lord. Yeah, the Yahweh's name.
Yahweh
is here.
comes down, and the only reason I said that is
Yeah.
because there's a critical theory on the Old Testament that this is kind of a cobbled together document, and you have the Yahwist parts, the Elohim parts, the priestly documents, and the Deuteronomic parts.
Oh man.
And so what happens is here, Yahweh's out of place.
Yeah.
It messes up that theory a little bit.
Yeah.
And then some critical scholar from Germany can come in and go, well, actually, and he can correct me.
So that was a departure from our normal, like trying to be as layman as possible. That
Oh,
was
I messed it up
That
big
was
time.
full on Bible nerd right there.
I
Okay?
just nerded. There might be some people. Every once in a while,
Yeah.
we should sling our street cred out there.
yeah. We have education.
Yeah. Yeah, because Joe Rogan
Yeah,
said the other day, there's
Joe
only
Rogan.
3 people in the world that can read the Hebrew. It's like
My
every
goodness.
seminary student in the world.
Look, yeah, we're picking on you, Joe Rogan. You need to ask us.
You
to
do
come
make
be
me
on the
laugh
podcast.
sometimes, though, Joe.
Yeah.
But man, when it comes to theology, buddy.
Yeah, that's actually worth saying. There's a claim because he's so influential. There was a claim he made on his
He's
podcast.
twice as influential as us, easily.
at least twice.
At least twice.
Yeah. The claim he made, he was talking about Hebrew in the Hebrew Bible, and he's talked about how so few people, how rare it is that anyone can actually read the Hebrew and know what it says.
Yeah.
That there's only like these select handful of people in the world that do this, and I'm like, every pastor who goes to seminary learns this.
Yeah, I know it.
There are thousands in
Now,
the
most
US.
of them forget it, kind of like high school
Yeah.
students taking Spanish or whatever. They're just like, I got to get through this class.
Yeah.
But like probably 10, 15% keep up.
Yeah, and even the ones who do forget a lot of their Hebrew, they know how to get their.
They have a facility with the language. So
they've
like they
learned
can
it.
buy something like Logos
Yeah.
and they understand the declinations of the verbs.
Yeah,
and,
they know how to get around in it. And
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
And so, like claims like that are so bizarre and show just.
You don't
honestly,
know.
it shows ignorance. Yeah, it's like this is actually super accessible.
Yes.
To people, it's the most accessible. Probably it is hands down the most accessible ancient document in the world, and so many
It's
resources.
the most studied ancient document in the world.
Yeah.
And it's not even close.
Yeah, the resources are actually really easy to get.
Yes.
comparatively
I
to
have
other
it
situations.
right here.
Yeah, like if
Look
you
at that.
if you
so gorgeous.
the amount of work it takes to get into the biblical Hebrew is way less than, because the resources are so good and so
Yeah.
prevalent, than the resources it would take to get into like ancient Sumerian.
Oh, you forget
or
about it.
Egyptian hieroglyphs or something.
Yeah.
Like this is way
Well, we
more
think this is,
accessible.
there's like billions of people who think this is the word of God.
That's
And
right.
so they've devoted their lives to it.
into teaching it very well.
One of my old professors, every single time, the Biblia Hebraicus Stuc Cardentia.
Oh my goodness!
Which is
you are going full Bible nerd today, man.
whenever a new edition came out, he read the whole thing and would underline any typos it had
Yeah.
and would send them 52 pages of,
Yeah.
hey man, you need to look at this.
So what he just said is the name of the Hebrew text that we use?
Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia.
Latin.
They say that German is the second Semitic language.
Yeah.
Because so much German scholarship. Weirdly.
Is that German? Stuttgartensia?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't
thought
want
that
to correct
was
you in front of all our
Latin.
friends.
I thought it was Latin.
It may be.
Biblia Sacra.
Well,
Are you sure it's not Latin?
Biblia Sacra, that's Latin.
Yeah.
That's Latin.
Hebraica.
Yeah, this is Latin. But Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia is...
Biblia Hebraica.
okay.
Stuttgartensia. Is that German?
Yeah, I think so. Well, maybe it is Latin.
German or Latin?
I don't speak German or Latin, although I know a little Latin. Ecce Romani. Look, there's Romans.
It doesn't look German to me.
It doesn't look German.
It looks Latin. I don't know Latin or German.
There goes our street
Because
cred.
The Bible was not written in Latin or German.
So
it was written in Hebrew and Greek. That's what we studied.
Hey,
yeah.
are we going to talk about the Tower of Babel?
We need to. Let's get back to the Tower of Babel. And so in the Tower of Babel, it's this pretty interesting story of them building a tower up into the sky, make a name for ourselves. God shows up, right? And here's a funny thing to me also.
Yes.
God shows up. Have you ever heard like people talk about God showing up?
Yeah, well, God showed up. Showed out.
They showed up. He showed up and showed out. When do they say that happens? At church.
At church.
And what they actually mean was like that song was really good that we sang at church.
Have you seen those things, those little skits where you buy a girlfriend translator or a wife translator?
Yeah.
And she's like, it's telling you what your girlfriend actually means.
Yeah.
We should have one of those for Christians. It's like God showed up and showed out. They really enjoyed the music.
That's
morning.
what that means.
Yeah.
The pastor didn't say too much.
Oh.
Watch
out for those
Justin
glottal
wasn't
stops.
preaching. Yeah. So now I'm going to be saying the rest of the day.
Don't do it. I'll correct you.
They say God shows up. And what's funny to me about that, I don't know if it's ironic, it's just funny, but when God shows up in the Bible, it's actually much more terrifying.
Most of the time, it's terror.
And
people are like, tell him to go away.
Because when he's showing up, there is a judgment taking place.
Yeah, even when he shows up to be friendly, people are scared.
Yep,
when he shows up on the mountain when Moses is about to give the law, and he's talking to them, and they go, Moses, you go talk to him. We're about to die.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And so God shows up here, and it's not because the music was good.
He's a building inspector.
He is a building inspector, and he's looking. He came down and looked at it, and he says, if they have begun to do this as one people, all having the same language, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Mm-hmm. So come, let's go down there and confuse their language so they will not understand one another's speech.
Yep, let us.
He
got that sacred mouse in his pocket again.
Yeah.
Who's the us?
Who is the us?
I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people say
I was not invited.
It's Trinity,
Maybe Trinity.
He's talking
maybe some angels.
Like a plurality.
Yeah.
It could be the sons of God.
The royal we.
The royal we.
Yeah.
That's a Hebrew thing. Mm-hmm. That God, well,
this is an English king thing too.
Yeah, it's
spoke on when the king spoke. He spoke for the whole.
The name of God is Elohim.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's not the name of God. That's like the
God.
noun God.
Yeah.
It's Elohim, and the im ending there means plural.
Yeah, it's plural. It's like an S in English.
And it's like a way to talk about majesty.
Because sometimes Elohim means gods.
Yeah, sometimes it means plural.
Yeah.
But when it's talking about the God, Yahweh, it's still Elohim. It's still plural. And the idea is actually that the plural makes it more majestic. Like he's so much God.
He's total God.
He's like all the God,
He is.
That's just how Hebrew works.
He's him.
And so it could be something about that with the let us do that.
So he confused their language.
Why did he do that, Brad?
So that they would be scattered abroad like he told them to do.
Yeah, and they're trying not to be scattered.
Yeah, but he was like, get out of here.
And so they build the tower so they won't be scattered. Yeah. And they build the tower so they are scattered.
Yes. They thwarted their purpose.
Yeah, God thwarted them. Why?
He said they whatever they want to do now, they can do it because they're able to communicate.
But, do you think the language growth, right, that he causes to happen?
Yeah.
Did that stop them from building tall towers?
I don't know. I guess so. It did in this case.
Right here, but they eventually all build tall towers.
Yeah. I don't know. Think about this, though. Mm-hmm. It's weird. So when we start as a civilizations overcoming these language gaps, there's great leaps in technology.
Yeah.
And right now, the last 125 years, the technology leaps we have.
That's true.
Basically from communication.
Yeah.
Sharing of ideas is massive in leaps of technology.
Yeah.
And God's like, it's too early for this junk, man. They all talking together.
That's what you think it is?
Oh yeah, I think he was looking toward the future, not just they're big stone stacks. He's like, they're going to invent the what do you call them? Microchips and stuff. And we can't. God was like, we are 5,000 years ahead of Twitter. We don't need that junk right now. It's too early.
That's a take. I've never heard that take before.
What?
Yeah, never.
I thought that's what everybody thought.
No, most people think this is about pride.
It is about pride.
Yeah.
But it's also about. So let's go back to the garden, right? If they take hold of this fruit now and they eat, they're going to live in this condition forever, right? He's looking towards the future. Like, we don't want to be stuck like this. It's too early.
Yeah.
There's some other things got to happen. I just look at this in sort of the same way. It's like, look, they can talk to each other. Anything they purpose to do, they can do it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to confuse them, because this thing they begin to do, man, we don't need these technological marvels ramping up right quick.
In Babylon, this is what the Tower of Babel is, what it's called a lot of times, but it's actually the Tower of Babylon.
Yeah, because they all babbled afterwards.
That's part of it, isn't it?
That is
that's
it,
like
yeah.
why it's named that. Yeah. And like a modern translation will say the Tower of Babylon, right? It won't even say Babel anymore. Because that's what it is. I mean, Babylon holds a significant narrative piece in the Bible.
All the way to the end.
All the way to the end, yeah.
To Revelation.
It
is the place where people gather to not do what God tells them to do.
That's right. That's what Babylon represents, the cumulative might of being an enemy of God.
Yes. Trying to make a name for yourself.
Yep.
Instead of God making a name for you.
Yep.
Because right after this is important. It says, come, let us build for ourselves a city whose tower will be in the top, and let us make for ourselves a Shem. Right?
Yep.
And then in verse 10, right after it said, these are the generations of name. Mm-hmm. And it's Shem,
Yep.
whom God chose.
Yep.
So there's a contrast here in this narrative. It is build a name for yourself, or God builds a name for you.
Yep.
And if you try to do it yourself, you'll be frustrated.
Yep. That's right.
If you let God do it, then you'll be famous. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's related too with how God is going to restore the world. Like you're not gonna win the blessing by being impressive.
No.
God has a plan for that, and he's going to bring this seed to crush the head of the serpent. He's going to do that. And he's going to do it with his plan, not because you've impressed him, not because you've built the big thing and built him a home. He actually always rejects people building him a home for that.
Yeah.
Even when David does
He's real picky.
David says, I'm going to build you a house.
God says, I don't want you to build me a house.
God says, I'm going to build you a house.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to build me a house. I'm going to build you a house.
That's like me and you going to lunch. I'm going to buy your lunch. No, I'm going to buy
I'm going to buy your lunch.
Yeah, I'm buying your lunch. That's how we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're full of pride is part of it. I didn't mean to downplay that, but also the wonder of man's ability. Their image bearers, powerful.
Yeah.
And God's like, this ain't good.
Yeah.
Not only their pride, obviously, is not good. Their disobedience not good. But if I don't put a stop to this, they're gonna do some stuff. Like if you just think if you went back in time and gave some nukes to these guys, they're gonna wind it up.
And that is the story of technology, and it the weapons have only gotten more destructive.
Oh yeah.
We like there's the in our culture there is a lie of progressivism, right? That as we improve, we progress, things get better, everything gets better. Right, everything's improving.
That's the problem. Everything.
Yeah,
it don't.
It's not everything.
Some things get better.
Air conditioning,
but I love it.
It's good.
I love plumbing.
Yeah,
yeah,
those are good.
Plumbing good,
but
toilet paper.
Everything, no. Our weapons have gotten more destructive.
Worse.
Dude,
worse.
Our bombs right now are crazy.
They're the bomb.
Yeah, I just started a book called Nuclear Warfare. a scenario, and it's like this investigative
Did you just say
journalist.
nuclear?
Nuclear.
It's
I'm
okay.
so
You're
dumb.
a George Bush, man.
I'm
He
such-
said nuclear all the time.
Nuclear.
It's nuclear.
It doesn't come off the tongue right.
You're from Jameson.
I'm from Jameson, Alabama.
I'm from Jameson. We say
How
nuclear.
big a boy are you?
Oh, I got a nuclear bomb.
Yeah. That was
Nuke 'em
a shout
till
out
they
for
glow.
Roy D. Mercer.
Yeah. You come up here.
How big a boy are you?
Well, yeah.
That's what Jameson, Alabama sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nuclear.
Northeast Alabama and the Appalachians. It's a different accent than Jameson.
It is.
We sound like, we say
Y'all are-
light and Christ.
Yeah, y'all are hillbillies.
Hillbillies.
And we were rednecks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And somehow we both became Bible nerds. How
Oh,
about
yeah.
that?
Joe
And we-
Rogan would be so surprised.
Yeah, yeah.
Hillbillies and rednecks down there. Right in the Hebrew, what it actually says is,
Yeah. But we actually know.
we do.
It took a lot of work, man. It was not
Man,
fun at all. So
Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet.
yeah, back
That's
to
alphabet,
the
yeah.
story. We were talking about how the bombs just got worse, man. Technology,
Yes.
like it's not all positive.
No.
right? It causes a lot of problems.
It doesn't fix morality.
It doesn't fix more. It does not fix the problems of the world. Like
We try to make our own morality.
Yeah.
We're always trying to do something for ourselves, make a name for ourselves.
with all the technological advances we have those advances stopped the horrors of this world? No, they've increased them.
They made them more worser.
Way worse.
Yes.
Like some things are so much worse right now because of the technology.
World War I freaked people out.
Yeah.
They didn't understand machine guns.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
they killed.
The destructive power.
So you think
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
up to World War I, besides the American Civil War, which was the most destructive war in history up
Yeah.
to World War I, people were kind of getting in lines. We had single shot rifles.
Yeah.
Lining up because they were so wildly inaccurate. You had to mass volley to do damage. And that's kind of the mentality. And one of the jokes, or not even a joke, but like witticism, is that generals always fight with the tactics of the last war. Mm-hmm. So in World War I, they thought mass charge. Mm-hmm. And dudes are sitting up there with a machine gun just feeding a belt, and thousands of people died.
Golly, man. That's
Millions.
Crazy. Yeah.
And blowing stuff up, tanks. And then we got better at World War II. And then we dropped a atom bomb on Hiroshima.
And that's a tiny bomb now.
60,000 people in a moment, in an instant, vaporized. The lines that day in heaven for judgment were ridiculous.
Oh, man.
Instant people.
Yeah.
God was like, hey, everybody get ready for the lines. There's fixing to be a lot of people showing up today.
Yeah.
Truman's going to drop the bomb. It's going to be like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, those bombs are small now. in
So
comparison.
God cut
Yeah.
that stuff off right off
cuts-
the
he
start.
cuts
It's
it
like,
off,
hey,
yeah.
we can't have the smart people talking to each other anymore.
Yeah.
Because they begin
But
to
he
do.
lets it go on eventually, though.
He does. Well, there's a time and a place.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we don't get an explanation.
We
for
got
that.
Jesus now. We're about to wrap this thing up, man.
Yeah, maybe, maybe.
Just today, I
Everyone has said that, though.
Yeah.
Everyone has said. Every generation has said.
Well, one generation's gonna be right though.
Eventually, someone's going to be
Somebody gonna
right.
be right.
Could you imagine living in World War II in the 40s and like you have Hitler?
Oh, I'd have thought Hitler was
Roman-
Antichrist.
Oh yeah, this is it, man. He's taking over the world. This is all.
The
it's-
second I saw that guy's mustache and haircut, I thought that's the devil.
Yeah. Hey, you're not far off, pal, man. It's like
Already
you
makes
trim
me
off
do
the
it.
wings.
No, I
Yeah.
would never do that. I had the accent a while ago.
Yeah, you did have the accent. Yeah.
I won't do that no more.
So chapter 11 keeps on rolling, and we get some more genealogies. And this is the records of Shem. This is the son of Noah who bears the promise of this seed that's going to come down and eventually produce the Messiah. And one interesting thing about this genealogy is that the long lives continue.
They do.
Yep. That, that this is like part of in chapter 6, God says we're going to limit something to 120 years.
Yeah.
And this is the argument for saying it was 120 years from that moment until the flood, because some people keep living past 120 years.
Yeah.
Noah's family, or at least the sons of Shem, all the way to Abraham. Abraham still does it too.
180
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Moses is the last guy
Yeah,
in the
he
Bible.
lives a
He
long
lives
time.
120.
Yeah.
He dies at
And
120.
so these folks still are having the long lives.
But it goes down.
It starts to get shorter.
Yeah.
But it's It's wild. Like it's Terra lived 205 years. That's how it ends.
I
right?
think Tolkien stole this, by the way.
You think so?
For his
With
Numenorians.
the Numenorians, yeah.
Because Aragorn's great-grandfather, whatever, way back, Elrond, they were angel, Maya.
Elrond was the elves.
Yes. He chose to be an elf.
Oh, yeah.
His brother.
Oh, yeah, he's
his
half elf.
twin brother,
Yeah.
Elros,
Yeah,
chose
yeah.
mortality.
That's
he
right.
chose immortality.
Yep.
Elros was half angel.
Yeah.
They had angel blood, and they had to choose whether they were going to be immortal or immortal. They were half elf too. They had a Maiar in there, and they lived a long, long time. The Numenorians lived like hundreds of years, but as they multiplied with normal people, their lifetimes went down. I think Tolkien.
We're getting so nerdy on this. Actually,
I think it was Elros.
yeah.
So Aragorn, son of Arathorn, was the great nephew of Elrond.
How about that?
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's true.
I'm glad I told you that today.
So you get this is going to take us all the way to Abram.
Yes.
And that's kind of the point of this is like we're tracing from Shem, Noah's son, all the way to Abram, who becomes Abraham, and setting up the Hebrew people, the people of God, right? The Israelites.
The promise.
Yeah. The people of the promise, right?
Yeah. Well, he's going to get the promise of the blessing.
Yep. And that's where it picks up in chapter 12 is the blessing. And we will do that next week.
Oh,
next
stay
episode.
tuned, dear
Stay
listener,
tuned. This
watcher.
is, some of the most important. These are like one of those passages that the Bible hinges upon. Like the story is built off of Abraham in a lot of ways.
We sing that stuff.
Yep. Father Abraham.
How many children?
I
What do
say
we
kids.
Kids.
I learned it kids.
You know why?
Why?
Because we used to say sons.
Oh, yeah,
How
yeah.
many sons have Father Abraham?
Yeah.
And then the little girls said, why not me?
Yeah.
So let's just call them kids.
That's so funny. That's right.
I
Probably.
made that jingle up just
Yeah.
now.
It count because the girls count. Yeah.
They do count.
Yeah.
But it used to be understood that they counted.
That's right.
That's the evolution of language
And
right
it's
there.
not
buddy.
understood anymore. Yeah. And so that's why the Christian Standard Bible will say brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
In the New Testament.
Yeah.
When it's in the Greek, it's just brothers.
That's what it
but
says.
It was understood.
Adelphoi.
The masculine used to represent both.
Used to.
It used to. But
Still
it doesn't.
does in most languages.
Yeah. But in English, it doesn't really as much anymore.
We get our feelings hurt now a lot.
That's, yeah, our language
I mean, I
has,
get it. Okay. I get it.
yeah.
Okay.
We're just so individualistic.
Yeah, a long time ago, I used to call Sloppy Joe's manwitches. You remember that?
Now what do you
Have
call
a manwich sandwich?
Woman witches?
No, now
That's
we
not
call
right.
no. That's what my daughter said. I said, "You want a manwich?" She said, "No, I want a woman witch." I was like,
Zoe said that?
Yes, she was like 6. I was like, "It's not. Doesn't mean
A girl
Maybe
witch.
it does. Yeah, well, but all witches are girls. I don't
Yeah.
know what we're going with here, but it's like, yeah,
What's a boy witch?
warlock,
A warlock? Okay.
wizard.
A wizard?
Didn't you watch Harry Potter?
Yeah.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah, wizard sounds more like noble than a witch, though.
And a warlock. They call them witches in
Witches
Harry
and
Potter.
warlock, I think that like fits better.
They've made a
But
covenant
what would
with
be
some
the
devil.
feminine version of a wizard?
Wizardra. I made that up.
That actually sounds best.
You like that?
Wizardra.
You heard it first here.
Yeah. A wizardress? I don't know.
Wizardra.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really care, actually.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all we got for you this week. Thank you so much for
Hey,
listening.
we promise next week we're going to talk about the Bible more.
Yeah, we talked about the Bible for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Well, we talked about other things too. It was fun. Hey, as
I
always,
need to go back to the first question.
What was the first question?
The first question was, what would you do if we go back in time and relive a moment? And
Actually,
I said, if I was 18.
yeah.
I didn't mean that it's not fun.
Yeah.
What I mean is there's no quick save in
Yeah.
life. You can't go back.
Yeah.
You can't quick save and be like, oh, these RPGs where you get all these dialogue options
Mm-hmm.
and you say something and it kind of ticks off the NPC and you're like, I don't want to say that. So you go do your save scum.
Well,
in this life, buddy,
Yeah.
you just get the one shot.
It's just the one shot.
Choose wise.
Well, let's sum it up. Let's give a little summary. What is the big deal about the Tower of Babel?
What is the big deal? Okay. They disobeyed God in their hubris. They were like, let's build a big tower in the sky and not do what God tells us to do. We're not going to be scattered. We want to stay, and we're going to make a name for ourselves. God is not going to make a name for us. We can do it ourselves. We don't need God.
Yep.
We can build big towers and make big name. And God
Yep.
comes down and says, Oh, me have mercy. He didn't say,
Yep.
Lord have mercy, because he is the Lord. He said, me have mercy. I can't let them do this. If they started to do this, they're going to do all kind of
Oh,
terrible
you know
stuff.
what just hit me?
What?
That the Tower of Babel is also like a flood.
Yeah.
Same kind of things happening. You have sin entering the land,
Yeah.
and then God judging it with Noah
Yeah.
in the flood. Sin entering the land,
Yeah.
and God judging it by spreading them out.
He doesn't kill them this time.
but he kicks them out.
Kicks them out.
And so
They're getting exiled all the
This is
time.
the second flood, actually, right here.
Yeah.
Is
It's
it-
the third judgment,
It's
for
the
sure.
third judge. Yeah, it's another one of them.
Yeah.
So that's the big deal about the Tower of Babel.
It's
Babylon.
a judgment. Babel, judgment. Flood, judgment. Eating fruit in the garden you're not supposed to eat, judgment.
Yeah,
And they still keep doing it.
yeah.
And that's going to be throughout the whole story.
Socks with Crocs, judgment.
What?
I'm just kidding.
You can wear socks with Hey Dudes.
Yeah. Is that really?
I see it happening. Makes me excited.
Socks are making a comeback period.
Yeah, they are.
Like for a while there, like socks were, you should never show your socks. Like no one should wear socks.
Yeah.
All the shoes and everything was built to where you never saw socks.
I know.
Socks are making a huge
I
comeback.
love socks.
Yeah.
I want to go back to 1980 when they're up to mid-calf with stripes on them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, when they took it away.
If you wore those, you'd be a trendsetter. Like people would be all over 'em.
I got to
Yeah.
do it.
You
I
need
still
to.
got some probably
Yeah.
from 1980 playing baseball.
Yeah.
When they took away that fashion,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, man, that sucks. Oh, we should have stopped. We should have stopped already.
We're descending into chaos.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
All right. Hey, everyone, thank you for listening to the Big Deal Podcast. As always, if you're on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please be a follow. Click follow plus follow. Click that. And that kind of always gets you the podcast on your stream list.
Invite your friends.
Invite your
Fuss
friends.
about what we said.
Yeah, and comment, interact with us. We always comment back. Thank you for listening to the Big Deal Podcast. See y'all.